Hey everybody, this is Lala Legacy and welcome back to another episode of Symphonic Rain. So if you haven't subscribed, please do that. It would mean the world to me if you did. And after this video, if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below because that lets me know that you want to see more. Alright, let's get back in. Because last time we had something really strange happen with Falsita, so let's get in. It inspired compassion as she looked on with eyes filled with both resentment and cries for salvation. Oh. Oh my goodness. Did you really come to hate me? I don't mind either way, you know. Her voice sounded warped. Or perhaps it was the world that had become warped. Everything ceased to matter to me. And finally she said, "After all, Chris, I love you." Shut the hell up! What happened after that? I could not remember clearly. I never would have thought there was a part in me that could manifest such enormous rage. It wasn't so much anger as it was intense grief and frustration. On the verge of tears, I had done as I pleased with her body. What? And even though my memory was one big blur, I could fragmentarily recall things like the way she had felt or the way she had smelled in vivid detail. Hey, let's have a little talk. I positioned myself on the edge of the bed, lethargically looking at the floor. I couldn't even manage to nod to her, and kept silent. In the end, no one can live by themselves, not you, nor me. Isn't everyone using someone to their own advantage? That's different. It's just putting it in different words. You're still doing the same thing, aren't you? I'm sure no one thinks about it the way you do. Then how do they think about it? They're helping each other out. They respect each other, are grateful to have one another, and do things just because they want to do things for each other. What poured forth from my lips was idealism I barely even believed in myself. But it was the only thing I could think of to oppose her vision. Helping each other out, huh? Like I said, it's the same thing. Besides, I respect people. Not that I am ever grateful to anyone, though. I wondered if that was really true. If having any kind of relationship with someone, or having someone do something for you meant for you to be using that person, then what she said might hold true. I want to be happy, she suddenly murmured. I have lived by singing until now. When I was little, there'd been a time I was on the streets singing and using the money I earned to stay alive. After I entered the orphanage, I no longer needed to sing to stay alive, but continued in order to get someone to recognize me. Even so, singing has never been a means, but always an end to me. I dearly love it. I could imagine nothing more wonderful than to turn it into a career. I have spared no pains in my quest to achieve this. Always practicing, always accepting requests with a smile just to uphold my connections in this world. I knew that better than anyone else. She was strict with herself and never neglected her duties. Her dreams she once talked to me about, as well as her values she was talking about now, were most likely all genuine. Everything I have ever done has been to make singing my life. And you need me to achieve this? Exactly. You are imperative to me. I still didn't know how to answer her. My flared-up emotions had subsided, and perhaps because of that, I had lost the will to make a decision. It hadn't completely vanished, but it was still lying dormant, smoldering somewhere deep inside my body. Can I ask you one thing? Sure. Won't you at least show up for the graduation recital tomorrow? I've already been registered as your partner. It's too late for me to switch to the vocalist recital now. They tend to be more lenient with students outside of the vocal department, though. Then why did you do this now? Your answer? Fel ignored my question and asked for confirmation. I will, I promise. Thanks. Now about my first question. You don't need to answer it right now. Why not? You seem to still be confused. It'd be best if you get your thoughts in order first. Let's continue after the recital tomorrow. There's cat hair just floating in my face and it's annoying me. Okay, that's fine with me. Thanks. This does not sit right with me. Like, none of this does. And it's upsetting me so much. I was walking through the dark alleys at night. I really longed for my bed right now. The rain had suddenly strengthened again, and I felt cold. I didn't have the energy to run, but still walked home as quickly as I could muster. I'm home. I called out after entering, but there was no response. There was no towel left by the front door, so I had to drag myself to the cabinet to get one. Forney? It was only just past 9, so I hadn't expected her to have already disappeared. At first, I considered she must have days like this as well, but then realized I hadn't seen her since last night. Concerned, I surveyed the room and spotted a scrap of paper on my desk. There was something scribbled onto it. Goodbye. It was written in awful handwriting. Next to it lay a pen that appeared way too heavy for her to use. What? What did Forney intend to tell me with a single blunt word like that? I dumbfoundedly stared at it for a few minutes, then abruptly crushed it with all my might. After that emotional upheaval, I immediately became depressed again, and looked back at the crumpled piece of paper in my hand. I then carefully unfolded it and spread it out until the word became readable again. Finally, I inserted it into the drawer. I stored the many letters from Ari in, and gently closed it. I woke up early in the morning, even though there was no one to wake me. Today was an important day. I must have unconsciously known that. Morning. The sound of my voice was absorbed into the void. There was obviously no answer. I forced myself up and checked the time. We had agreed to practice at 10 o'clock yesterday, but I didn't feel like going. I didn't want to show up completely without preparation either, so I thoughtlessly dragged myself behind my fortel. As I played the intro to the piece, it felt like Forney was still right beside me. But no matter how often I looked around or how hard I strained my ears, there were no signs of her. As though a sprite like her had never existed in the first place. I abruptly sprang up, opened my drawer, and reread the letter from Forney. Succinct letter, comprising only a single word. I just wanted to reaffirm her existence. I walked back to my fortel and put my fingers back on the keyboard. Having gotten confirmation of the footprints Forney had left behind must have put me at ease, as my fingers moved smoothly this time. It was far from what I should be doing right now, but I didn't care. Thinking this might be the last time I played this piece, I put my heart into it until the final note. I exposed my body to the lingering reverberations, so as to never forget. After that, I went to take a shower. With my body clean, I changed into my uniform and went outside. The rain was intense. I always felt myself getting drenched in a matter of seconds. I headed to school at a pace somewhere between running and walking. I was going to fulfill my final promise with Val. I didn't want to think about what to do afterward, like having to go back to my hometown or having to find work now that I was no longer a student. I couldn't afford to worry over those things now. All I could think about was how I wished this day would end soon. After I passed through the gate and progressed for a few minutes, I noticed a familiar figure in front of the concert hall. Having nowhere else to go, I idly staggered toward her. Good morning. Even though it's already noon, didn't I tell you about practice yesterday? I practiced by myself. Well, whatever. There's a 1 hour intermission right now. So? I kind of wanted to have at least one practice run together, but it would seem you're not up to it. If you don't mind, I'd rather not. For the record, we have to be present backstage 15 minutes before we're up. Let's go to the concert hall. Got it. What about the rain? Aren't you cold? I'm drenched. Of course I'm cold. Come on. She took me by the hand and dragged me along into the building. Despite it being lunchtime, there was no one to be seen. She most likely foresaw that most students would be at the cafeteria around this time and had chosen to go to the main building instead. The deserted hallway only made me feel even colder. Lower your head for a second. Before she even finished her sentence, she forced my head down and produced a towel from her bag and began wiping my hair with it. What? I'll be in trouble if you catch a cold. Wrapped in the sensation of the warm towel along with the sweet aroma of soap, I almost inadvertently began smiling with pleasure. I even almost felt a little of my previous feelings of happiness return to me. How about your hands? It'll be a problem if you can't move them properly. This time she took my hands and rubbed them together with hers a few times. You really are cold. The palms of her hands were warm, proving to me that she was a person of flesh and blood. While that was nothing out of the ordinary, it was in severe contrast to her cold and cruel behavior yesterday. Just when I thought I should say something and was about to part my lips, someone approached from afar, and the girl stopped me. Be quiet! The footsteps gradually grew louder, and a man approached us. Falsita! Good morning, sir. You have your recital today, correct? Yes, I will have my recital in a matter of moments with my fortellist partner, Chris. I see. I expect great things from you. Thank you very much. He left without ever even glancing in my direction. Val saw him off with a smile, then turned to me without changing her expression. That aristocrat is the benefactor who picked me up. You don't like him? I hate him and his daughter. His daughter? Never mind. She doesn't come into the picture here. She scoffed, then stared off into the distance. She took her necklace into her hand and repeatedly stroked the surface. I've noticed her do that often. It must have been a habit of hers. It's about time, Val said, looking at the clock on the wall before I had a chance to bring it up myself. It was relatively quiet backstage, perhaps due to it still being lunchtime. I silently prepared my foretell behind the drop curtain on stage, as I was instructed to do by one of the students in charge. During that time, Val never took her eyes off the score, a sight that made me feel a bit relieved. Ready? Ready, you two! Miss Cordell, who knew nothing of what was going on between us, addressed her from behind. Yes, I'm all set. Good. What about you, Chris? I'm fine. Huh? Is something wrong? He's probably just a little nervous, right, Chris? She said with her trademark perfect smile. It came so natural to her that it was hard to imagine this girl being capable of spewing out so much hate. Yes. My earlier relief vanished in a flash. It was the Fal from yesterday standing there after all. Chris, Falsita. Would you mind excusing us? The buzzer will ring in a moment. Fal took my hand and pulled me to the side of the stage, as though trying to keep me away from Miss Cordell. This is it. I didn't have the willpower to force my hand loose, so I just nodded. At that moment, the buzzer resounded through the hall, and the hustle and bustle in the audience beyond the curtain abruptly stopped. Let's go. I walked into it as though it were all happening in some place far away. I went to sit in my prescribed location and ran my fingers across the keyboard. Fal turned to me, seeking my gaze in order to synchronize our breathing. I projected the sight of her talking about her dreams on the stage, which gave me a powerful sense of déjà vu. Soon enough, our respiration had blended together, and all preparation was complete. My fingers began playing the intro they had so many times before. Okay, here we go. Here's the real deal now. Oh God. Shoot. Okay, well, I did it! The performance was over before I knew it, and we were met with a big round of applause. During the performance, I had been thinking about many things. About Fal, about Forney, and of course about Torta and Ari. Even about Ossino and Miss Cordell. Even so, my fingers moved as if they belonged to someone else, as they spun together a flawless performance. I wouldn't call that flawless. I manifested complex emotions, a mix of confusion, sadness, and sometimes anger through my foretell. And in the process, even Fel's emotions had been flowing into me. They contained no hesitation, just a single girl's pure wish for happiness. Chris! Fel called out to me quietly amidst the ever-continuing applause. Having been pulled back to reality, I bowed to the audience with Fel, then got off stage. Miss Cordell and two others were awaiting our exit from the stage. Much to my surprise, those two were Torta and Asino. "Meet me in our practice room," Fel whispered into my ear, then left without ever taking the time to approach our visitors. They applauded my performance, Torta with her usual smile, Miss Cordell with a smile quite uncharacteristic of her. They had never been emotionally moved to such an extent by a performance in their life, or so they said. As far as Asino, he casually waved at me from afar, then disappeared to someplace. Leaving some casual goodbyes to Torta and Miss Cordell, I walked away. I stood before the practice room and took a deep breath. My mind was not in order yet. But since there was no use standing around here, I resolutely opened the door. She was there. And she addressed me casually and calmly. "That was quick. I thought you'd be talking to them for a while longer." "Okay, come on." "I wanted to talk to you first thing." "I see. Does that mean I can get my hopes up a little?" Noticing no answer came, she chuckled. "Let's go somewhere else. There's no atmosphere here." "Anywhere is fine for me." "Then let's go," she said nonchalantly and walked out. Amazed at how she could interpret my words as such, I reluctantly followed her in her tracks. The wisps of rain seemed to be weakening a little. Fel weaved her way through and came to a halt at a certain point along the tree-lined road. The branches and leaves of a comparatively large tree helped suppress the vigor of the rain. Underneath that tree, Fel reinitiated the conversation. "This'll be the last time. Will you answer me truthfully?" "Yeah." She went straight to the point, which caught me off guard for a bit. "I like you, Chris. I've become entranced by your tones, or the tones of your foretell. With you, I thought I would be able to make it to the top. I've done many things to get you to fall for me, some of them cruel, some of them ending up hurting others. Even so, I felt I wanted you. I could have continued to keep it from you, but I just couldn't bear to. I wanted you to know the real me. I wanted you to come with me bearing that knowledge. I will say it once more. Come with me." It was a surprisingly open-hearted confession. The true face of a girl buried in lies. Not putting up any facades, not showing any regret for her sins, just displaying a genuine desire for me. As a result, I was forced to answer her sincerely. Alright, so this is where I'm gonna save, because this is actually the point of, like, the good ending and the bad ending. So we are gonna go with the good ending first. "I will come with you." "Okay," I answered in a haze, as though having just been felled by a fever. She was wretched, yet so beautiful. "Really?" she asked in a hesitant voice. Had her self-confidence until now been a temporary spell? "Really." "I see." I heard her voice, and with it, I recalled her singing, and the emotions mixed in. It might not be so bad to be used by this girl. She trusted no one, was grateful to no one. She would simply sing her songs, and if the need arose, spare no means to deceive people. If there was someone or if there was someone together with her in the future she saw, then it had to be someone she thought she could use for the rest of her life. And that role just happened to be assigned to me. In turn, I had been entranced. Entranced by the touch of her beautifully pale skin and scabrous heart. What's wrong? You will actually accept me? I accept you. No matter who will come to stand against you, I will always be by your side. Val. My name. I will be by your side, Val. Chris. We wrapped each other into a silent embrace. After a few minutes, we parted. What shall we do now? Whatever you want. I have no place to return to. What about the orphanage? I never want to go back there. I'll be reminded of the me I used to hate the most. I see. Then do you want to come to my hometown with me? Are we going to live there? No. Anywhere is fine. But I still have to go back there at least once. Sounds good. Let's go there together after the graduation ceremony. With a sense of nostalgia running through me, I pictured the streets of my faraway hometown in my mind. I would probably not meet Arietta. It would only end up hurting us both. When I got home, I would write a letter to end this once and for all the while hoping that a day would come that Ari could bring herself to read it. What's your hometown like? Let's see. It's a flourishing town, but the streets aren't nearly as pretty as Piova's. It's really rural. I think that's much better than a city that flourished as a status symbol for aristocrats. I like the old town, though. She replied without smiling. Val hadn't been smiling a lot lately. Or perhaps it was more accurate to say she no longer bothered to force a smile. She probably felt she had no need to keep up her flawless social facade around me. Right now, I was honestly happy about that. Besides, it wasn't like she didn't smile at all. She would when she was happy or heard something funny. She seemed more natural now than ever before. It was the true face of the girl that only I knew. What shall we do after that? I wonder. We had talked about this a number of times before, but we had yet to come to an answer. In any case, we wouldn't end up on the streets. Our graduation recital had been rated higher than we ever would have imagined possible. In the days after, whenever we went to the institute, like for the graduation ceremony, what awaited us were numerous compliments and invitations by orchestras. Our future prospects were bright, to say the least. For now, the girl's dream hadn't ended yet, and no matter what kind of path we would be walking from now on, we would probably be together. For as long as she needed me. For as long as she would love me. Right now, I could say with conviction that I loved her from the bottom of my heart. That was why I would remain by Fal's side, for she had said she wanted to be happy. Is something on your mind? Yeah, I was thinking about you. Oddball, Fal said, then went to gaze out the window as well. The train had only just departed. We hadn't even reached the mountains surrounding the city of Piova yet. On the other side of the long, winding tunnel, dug through those mountains, there would no longer be any rain falling. It had been 3 years since I'd last seen those blue skies. As I pictured the scene in my mind, I lost my sense of time and surrendered myself to the gentle rocking of the train. Oh, we finally entered the tunnel! Yeah, but even after we've passed through it, the town we're headed for is still half a day away. It's so far away. Yeah. That distance had often felt so excruciatingly far to me. Even so, Arietta had crossed it to visit me a few times. After we've passed through this tunnel... Hmm? Never mind. We still haven't even made it to the other side. It's a really long tunnel after all. Yeah, she agreed hesitantly, then brought her hand to her chest. I had seen her do that many times before. Was it a habit? Hey. What is it? Is that a habit of yours? What is? That pendant. I see you touching it sometimes, and always with a pained expression on your face. Is it special to you? I never knew I had a habit like that. And special, huh? Yeah, I think it's something special. A memento? In a way it is. This was the very first and only possession I had. Your only possession? This pendant was all I had on me when I was entrusted to the orphanage. A worn blanket and a silver pendant. I didn't even have a name. It represents a bird's wings. Perhaps the person who left this on me had meant to tell me to fly high. The notion of parents was unknown to her. She had grown up in an environment with only orphanage staff and children in a similar situation as her. While she didn't seem particularly sorrowful about it, she had still mentioned several times she didn't want to return there. Apparently, the only reason she'd gone back at the start of this year was because the aristocrat that picked her up had instructed her as such, for the sole reason of improving his own image. Of course, I'll never know for sure. She said that with a self-derisive smile, stroking the pendant again. Perhaps due to her constant touching it, the dull gray wings had been dirtied with finger marks, to the point it was hard to guess what the original color had been like. Sullen wings as they may be, they suit you in all of their beauty. What? Asino told me that once, though they only got dirty because I kept touching them like this. I heard it used to be a bright silver. I see. But since it was just a cheap trinket, the color faded quickly. The chain had been severed as well. It's fastened with a leather string now. She said with a hint of disgust, even though she kept playing with it affectionately. It's beautiful. The wings. And you. So corny. With that, she finally let go of the wings. Did you ever talk to Asino after that? Just small talk, really. But he wasn't mad at me, and unlike he fears, I'm not mad at him. So you made amends. Officially, I guess. That's good. The fact that the girl who caused it in the first place would say that didn't sit quite right with me. Me either! But I had already accepted the fact that she was that kind of person. But he never mentioned anything about you. He might not have forgiven you, sorry. I don't mind. It's only natural after all I did to him. If hating me makes him feel better, then that's what he should do. Isn't it a loss for you to be hated by someone? That just goes to show how much the person beside me now was worth it. I didn't let those kinds of words agitate me anymore. But I knew she was telling the truth, and I accepted it as such. A bright light suddenly burst into the car. I had to squint my eyes at the sheer brightness of it. Even so, I could not tear my eyes from the scenery outside. It's a blue sky! Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen this. 3 years, in fact. You're right. We still have a long way to go, but this just made me feel so much better. Good for you. What about you? Didn't you miss this? I've taken this train not too long ago. Ah, that's right. But it's really been a long time for me. I know. She answered flatly, then glanced outside the window. Realizing I was acting like some kind of child, I got a little embarrassed. Sorry. Val finally smiled and shook her head as though to say she didn't care. Then she brought up something I never would have expected. Hey, Chris? Yes? Wanna go see Arietta when we arrive? Why? I think you have to see her. But why? If you don't, I don't think we can move on. It's been bothering me all the time. You must still be thinking about Arietta. I won't deny that, but right now the only one I know. But you know. Am I really that selfish for wanting to square all accounts before starting my life with you? No. Then can we? I had pledged I would do anything I could for her, so okay, answered as such. Sorry, Chris. Why are you apologizing? It's okay. If you want me to do this, then I will. Okay, in return. Val slowly took off her necklace and tore off the 2 wings from the leather cord, and she presented one of them to me. These are my wings. They are meant to let me fly high into the sky. I will entrust you with one of them. One wing won't do either of us good, but if we're together, we can fly anywhere we want. Thanks. I accepted the wing and gripped it lightly. While the wing had dulled, it had by no means lost its beauty. I imagined my future with her, now that I had one of the wings to support her. Will you stay with me forever? Of course. And I will stay with you. Forever. Well, I guess that was it. She had me fooled even in the beginning, and this ending does not sit right with me at all. Like, that was supposed to be the good ending? What? I don't think so. I don't think there is any real good ending with Val. Not that I've seen, or not that I can see anyways. Like, she's awful. She is an awful person. I'm so sad about that. Oh my god. And here I thought she was gonna be so good and all of this kind of stuff. But no! She's a horrible human being! Why? I don't understand. I mean, okay, yeah, I do understand. That some people are just like that, and I mean, she's made her, reason, I guess, pretty clear. But still, this pisses me off. I don't like it. And the knot in my stomach is just, unbearable. The thought that he is, having to be with somebody like that for the rest of his life because he's like, well, I don't have any other prospects now, do I? It's please. Reconsider. If I could, I mean, I can go back and do the quote-unquote bad ending for Fal. But to be honest, I think the bad ending, if all that happens is that he leaves and never, goes back to her and, they just go their separate ways, if that is the only thing that happens in the bad ending, I would not say that is a bad ending at all. I would say that would be the best possible outcome with Val. Leave me alone. Go do whatever you're gonna do. Go use somebody else. I do not want to play your games. You are not a reasonable or good human being. I don't like you. You can go back to wherever you came from. That orphanage, I'm sure they really miss you. I know this all sounds so mean, but Did you guys not see what she did? Do you see what she did? Do you think that she does not deserve this? Like, what I'm saying about her? Does she or does she not deserve what I'm saying to her? Like, oh my god, if she was a real person and I found out about this shit, I would be saying this to her face. I would be calling her, like, so many bad words. Ugh, I can't. This really does not sit well with me, and I am like, ugh. I don't think that I, like, react this strongly to a lot of the games that I play, but this Fal's freaking character pissed me off at the end. Obviously, just at the end here, when she revealed who she truly was. I'm mad. I'm real angry about this. Oh boy, here we go. We had returned to the City of Rain again. I intently played my foretell for the girls. I could feel her touch on my back and hear her singing next to my ear. It had become a common scene in this room we had moved into together. Chris, I will always be with you. The faded wings touched each other with a dull sound. Where would these wings lead us? Where could we go? The sound was soon washed out by the sound of my foretell, with the girls' voices overlapping. I continued playing the keyboard with a clear mind, embedded all of my overflowing emotions into it. Even after finishing her song, she did not move. I love you, Chris. You, and the sound of your foretell. I will be with you forever. She whispered into my ear, then displayed a content smile. Nice try, game. Nice try in, like, trying to make her seem better. But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It really doesn't. Alright, well, I'll do her bad ending the next time that I record this. So her bad ending is gonna be like a whole separate video. So, I'm sorry for sighing like this. I'm just so upset. Anyways, if you haven't already, please subscribe and hit the notification bell as well, so that way you get notified every time that I upload. And hit that like button too if you liked it. And let me know what you thought about this ending down below. Do you think that I'm right to be like so upset over what she did and like everything that happened? And yeah, like just let me know how you feel about all this. Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. I love you so much. Bye!